The ice. It is singing the song of death. Elder Anya, deaf since childhood, felt the tremor in the soles of her feet, a deep echo warning her of imminent danger. It wasn't the wind's howl, but the brutal weight of 3 hungry polar bears, gigantic and relentless creatures, approaching the cave where sacred and defenseless Siberian tiger cubs were trapped. The temperature plummeted to 70 degrees, and the ice beneath her feet cracked like glass, threatening to swallow everything. Her heart beat to the frantic rhythm of the frozen earth as she prepared for the impossible confrontation. And what she would do in complete silence would decide the fate not only of the cubs, but of the YAKUT village itself. Anya pressed her lips together, a thin, determined line on her time-worn face. Her gloved hands tightened on the sled's reins, feeling the wood's vibration as an extension of her own body. For her, silence was not emptiness, but a constant symphony of pressures and resonances. The deep rumble approaching was not an audible sound, but a visceral ripple, a warning radiating from the ground, foreshadowing the predator's arrival. She imagined the bear's massive paws, each step a small convulsion in the pristine snow, crushing the ice under colossal weight. 3 of them, their hunger, an almost palpable force, reached her through the very earth. A primal hunting instinct she read with terrifying clarity. Her deep, penetrating blue eyes swept the darkness of the cave. Inside, she visualized the small, striped bodies of the tiger cubs huddled, their silent fear a cry that resonated in her own chest. They were more than animals. They were the village's promise, the hope of good fortune for the long winter months. To fail in her mission would be to fail every soul in the YAKUT community, to fail the faces of her grandchildren she saw in her mind, filled with unwavering faith. A shiver, deeper than the paralyzing cold, ran down her spine. Her bones, already punished by age and the exhaustive journey, protested with every movement, and the icy air burned her lungs with each breath. She remembered the pleas of the younger ones in the village, their worried gestures and their voices, which she didn't hear, but felt the urgency in their facial expressions. They wanted to protect her, perhaps thinking her age and deafness made her fragile, but Anya knew that only she, with her unique connection to this frozen world, could decipher its most dangerous secrets. Her deafness, which many saw as a limitation, had transformed into her greatest strength, sharpening her other senses to an almost mystical degree. The ice's song of death intensified. It wasn't just a crack, it was a vast and intricate web of fissures expanding with agonizing slowness. Anya felt the minuscule changes, the groan of the ancient permafrost yielding to the immense pressure of the bears and the inherent instability of the terrain around the cave. It was a silent symphony of destruction, played exclusively for her. Her eyes narrowed, assessing the treacherous landscape. She needed to act, and fast, before the ice gave way completely, before the bears reached the cave entrance. Her mind, sharpened by decades of survival in this unforgiving land, raced for a solution. Fighting them was impossible. Fleeing, unthinkable. Her weapon was her wisdom, her understanding of the Earth's silent language. She needed to use the environment itself to turn the ice's instability into her ally. Her gaze fixed on a massive, irregular ice overhang, precariously balanced above the cave entrance. A natural trap, a silent sentinel waiting for the right moment to collapse, if she could manipulate the vibrations. A desperate and audacious idea ignited in her mind. The bears were closer now, their wild, musky scent reaching her even through the biting cold. Their heavy breathing, a silent tremor, vibrated in the air, pressing in on her. The time for contemplation was over. The time for action had begun. Anya did not hesitate, her blue eyes fixed on the colossal ice overhang that hung precariously above the cave entrance. It was her only chance. With a decisive movement, she grasped her time-worn oak staff, an extension of her perception. She planted it firmly in the ice near the sled and, with almost ritualistic precision, began to tap lightly on the frozen surface. Not a hard strike, but a rhythmic and calculated sequence, like an ancestral heartbeat, a silent murmur only she could feel. She didn't hear the sound, but felt each impact reverberate through the staff, traveling up her arms and resonating in her chest. She conversed with the ice, whispering in its silent language. The vibrations spread, seeking the overhang's weak point. The bears were alarmingly close. The tremor of their heavy paws was a deep drum beneath her feet, and the icy air carried their strong, wild scent. Anya saw the fury and hunger in their movements, their impatience growing. Her lips moved in silent prayer to the spirits of the earth, asking for permission and strength. With each tap, Anya focused her energy and wisdom. She felt the ice beneath the overhang vibrate back, a faint but growing echo. It was a dangerous dialogue, a dance with nature. Suddenly, a different, deeper vibration traveled through the staff, not her own touch, but the ice's response. A low groan, a deafening roar to Anya. She knew she had found the exact spot, the exposed nerve of the ice mountain. With one last, stronger strike, Anya felt the rupture. A silent, monumental crack opened at the base of the overhang. The massive block of ice began to move with terrifying slowness. She retreated quickly, pulling back her staff and the sled. The air trembled with the impending fall, and with a crash that Anya felt more than heard, the ice giant collapsed. The colossal mass hit the ground, making the earth tremble. Fragments of ice flew, and a cloud of pulverized snow obscured the cave entrance. The polar bears, just meters away, were caught by surprise. Anya felt the shockwave of their silent panic. They were not harmed, but the fright was immense. The disturbance disoriented them. The vibrations of their enormous bodies, previously advancing, now turned in disordered retreat, their heavy steps moving away into the darkness of the blizzard, away from the threat. Anya didn't lose a second. The snow mist still lingered, but the passage was clear. She knelt, feeling the searing pain in her knees and the penetrating cold. The urgency was greater than any pain. The cubs! She crawled to the mouth of the cave, the air inside dense and icy. The already precarious ice floor had given way a little more, and a dark abyss opened dangerously close to the small tigers, threatening to swallow them. Her eyes adjusted to the gloom. There they were, three small striped bodies huddled, hearts beating in frantic terror. Anya extended her gloved hand, wrinkled fingers offering security. The first cub, the smallest and most frightened, hesitated, but the softness of her touch and the absence of threat encouraged it. It crawled into her hand, a small bundle of soft, warm fur. Anya picked it up with utmost care, feeling the fragile warmth of its life and the responsibility. She placed it delicately in the sled, nestling it in a fur blanket. There were two more. Time was crucial. The ice continued to groan, the song of death resonating in her feet, a constant reminder of the refuge's fragility and the imminence of danger. She returned for the second cub, even closer to the edge of the abyss. It trembled uncontrollably, wide eyes reflecting fear. Anya murmured words of comfort, gentle gestures. It too surrendered to her gentle touch, allowing itself to be lifted from danger. Anya felt exhaustion, but adrenaline and purpose propelled her. The third cub, the boldest, was a little further away, but the danger of the cracking ice was imminent. She could not fail. The village's fortune depended on these small beings, a vital link between the YAKUT people and the spirits of nature. With each cub safe, a flame of hope ignited in her heart, warming her against the brutal cold and the solitude of silence, reaffirming her faith in her mission. Anya reached out again, this time for the third cub, which was cowering, eyes wide with terror, just inches from the dark crevice that swallowed the ice. The tremor beneath her feet was now a constant pulse, an urgent reminder that time was running out. With slow, deliberate movements, she approached, her calm expression and gentle gestures conveying a sense of security that the small animal seemed to grasp. It hesitated, but the silent determination in Anya's eyes and the absence of any visible threat convinced it. With a small meow that Anya didn't hear, but felt the vibration in her palm, the cub crawled onto her gloved fingers. She lifted it with the same reverence with which she had held the others, feeling the faint warmth of its life against the biting cold. With the 3 cubs now nestled and safe in the sled, wrapped in warm furs, Anya felt a profound relief. A wave of exhaustion that hit her hard. Her muscles protested, every joint aching under the relentless cold and monumental effort. But the sight of the small bodies breathing softly in the fur blanket renewed her strength. The mission was accomplished. Now, the journey back remained. The wind whipped her face, and the snow, which had briefly subsided, began to fall again in dense swirls, obscuring the trail. The ice beneath her feet still sang its song of fragility, but now it was a distant murmur, no longer an imminent roar. She pulled the sled's reins, feeling the wood's vibration and the cub's weight as a precious burden. Every step was a battle against exhaustion and the treacherous terrain. The landscape was an infinite white canvas, where the horizon merged with the sky in shades of gray and white. Anya relied on her memory, her intuition, and the subtle changes in the terrain's incline that she felt in the soles of her feet. The village, a beacon of hope amidst the icy vastness, seemed infinitely distant. She remembered the worried faces of her grandchildren, the faith they placed in her, and this image, more than any physical warmth, propelled her forward. Hours passed. Or perhaps it was only minutes in the time distortion imposed by the blizzard and the effort. Anya had no way of knowing. Her body was a machine of endurance, moving by sheer willpower. Finally, through the curtain of snow, a dark smudge began to take shape. The village, a small cluster of flickering lights, a beacon of hope in the icy darkness. The ground's vibration changed, becoming firmer, more familiar. She was arriving. The first to see her were the young sentinels, who had refused to abandon their posts despite the cold. Their cries of relief and surprise, though inaudible to Anya, were visible in their wide gestures and illuminated faces. The news spread like wildfire. Cabin doors opened and villagers, wrapped in furs, emerged into the blizzard. Their eyes, previously filled with despair and worry, now shone with a mixture of disbelief and joy. Anya stopped the sled in the central square, exhausted, but with her head held high. Her eyes swept over the faces of the village, feeling the wave of emotion that emanated from them. She opened the fur blanket, revealing the 3 Siberian tiger cubs. A murmur of awe and reverence rippled through the crowd. Children approached, their eyes wide with wonder, touching the small animals with their fingertips as if touching fortune itself. The elder smiled, a tired smile, yet one that radiated deep peace. She didn't need words to understand the gratitude in their eyes, the admiration in their gestures. The village was saved, the promise of good fortune restored. Her deafness, which separated her from the world of sounds, had become the strongest link between her people and the earth. In that silence, Anya felt the purest human connection, the warmth of community, the validation of her life. She was the guardian of silence, the heroine who, against all odds, had brought hope back home. The cubs, small and vulnerable, were now the living symbol of Anya's resilience and her people's unwavering faith in the face of nature's most brutal aspects. Anya reached out again, this time for the 3rd cub, which was cowering, eyes wide with terror, just inches from the dark crevice that swallowed the ice. The tremor beneath her feet was now a constant pulse, an urgent reminder that time was running out. With slow, Deliberate movements, she approached, her calm expression and gentle gestures conveying a sense of security that the small animal seemed to grasp. It hesitated, but the silent determination in Anya's eyes and the absence of any visible threat convinced it. With a small meow that Anya didn't hear but felt the vibration in her palm, the cub crawled onto her gloved fingers. She lifted it with the same reverence with which she had held the others, feeling the faint warmth of its life against the biting cold. With the 3 cubs now nestled and safe in the sled, wrapped in warm furs, Anya felt a profound relief. A wave of exhaustion that hit her hard. Her muscles protested, every joint aching under the relentless cold and monumental effort. But the sight of the small bodies breathing softly in the fur blanket renewed her strength. The mission was accomplished. Now, the journey back remained. The wind whipped her face, and the snow, which had briefly subsided, began to fall again in dense swirls, obscuring the trail. The ice beneath her feet still sang its song of fragility, but now it was a distant murmur, no longer an imminent roar. She pulled the sled's reins, feeling the wood's vibration and the cub's weight as a precious burden. Every step was a battle against exhaustion and the treacherous terrain. The landscape was an infinite white canvas, where the horizon merged with the sky in shades of gray and white. Anya relied on her memory, her intuition, and the subtle changes in the terrain's incline that she felt in the soles of her feet. The village, a beacon of hope amidst the icy vastness, seemed infinitely distant. She remembered the worried faces of her grandchildren, the faith they placed in her, and this image, more than any physical warmth, propelled her forward. Hours passed. Or perhaps it was only minutes in the time distortion imposed by the blizzard and the effort. Anya had no way of knowing. Her body was a machine of endurance, moving by sheer willpower. Finally, through the curtain of snow, a dark smudge began to take shape. The village, a small cluster of flickering lights, a beacon of hope in the icy darkness. The ground's vibration changed, becoming firmer, more familiar. She was arriving. The first to see her were the young sentinels who had refused to abandon their posts despite the cold. Their cries of relief and surprise, though inaudible to Anya, were visible in their wide gestures and illuminated faces. The news spread like wildfire. Cabin doors opened and villagers, wrapped in furs, emerged into the blizzard. Their eyes, previously filled with despair and worry, now shone with a mixture of disbelief and joy. Anya stopped the sled in the central square, exhausted but with her head held high. Her eyes swept over the faces of the village, feeling the wave of emotion that emanated from them. She opened the fur blanket, revealing the 3 Siberian tiger cubs. A murmur of awe and reverence rippled through the crowd. Children approached, their eyes wide with wonder, touching the small animals with their fingertips, as if touching fortune itself. The elder smiled, a tired smile, yet one that radiated deep peace. She didn't need words to understand the gratitude in their eyes, the admiration in their gestures. The village was saved, the promise of good fortune restored. Her deafness, which separated her from the world of sounds, had become the strongest link between her people and the earth. In that silence, Anya felt the purest human connection, the warmth of community, the validation of her life. She was the guardian of silence, the heroine who, against all odds, had brought hope back home. The cubs, small and vulnerable, were now the living symbol of Anya's resilience and her people's unwavering faith in the face of nature's most brutal aspects. Anya reached out again, this time for the 3rd cub, which was cowering, eyes wide with terror, just inches from the dark crevice that swallowed the ice. The tremor beneath her feet was now a constant pulse, an urgent reminder that time was running out. With slow, deliberate movements, she approached, her calm expression and gentle gestures conveying a sense of security that the small animal seemed to grasp. It hesitated, but the silent determination in Anya's eyes and the absence of any visible threat convinced it. With a small meow that Anya didn't hear but felt the vibration in her palm, the cub crawled onto her gloved fingers. She lifted it with the same reverence with which she had held the others, feeling the faint warmth of its life against the biting cold. With the 3 cubs now nestled and safe in the sled, wrapped in warm furs, Anya felt a profound relief. A wave of exhaustion that hit her hard. Her muscles protested, every joint aching under the relentless cold and monumental effort. But the sight of the small bodies breathing softly in the fur blanket renewed her strength. The mission was accomplished. Now, the journey back remained. The wind whipped her face, and the snow, which had briefly subsided, began to fall again in dense swirls, obscuring the trail. The ice beneath her feet still sang its song of fragility, but now it was a distant murmur, no longer an imminent roar. She pulled the sled's reins, feeling the wood's vibration and the cub's weight as a precious burden. Every step was a battle against exhaustion and the treacherous terrain. The landscape was an infinite white canvas, where the horizon merged with the sky in shades of gray and white. Anya relied on her memory, her intuition, and the subtle changes in the terrain's incline that she felt in the soles of her feet. The village, a beacon of hope amidst the icy vastness, seemed infinitely distant. She remembered the worried faces of her grandchildren, the faith they placed in her, and this image, more than any physical warmth, propelled her forward. Hours passed. Or perhaps it was only minutes in the time distortion imposed by the blizzard and the effort. Anya had no way of knowing. Her body was a machine of endurance, moving by sheer willpower. Finally, through the curtain of snow, a dark smudge began to take shape. The village, a small cluster of flickering lights, a beacon of hope in the icy darkness. The ground's vibration changed, becoming firmer, more familiar. She was arriving. The first to see her were the young sentinels, who had refused to abandon their posts despite the cold. Their cries of relief and surprise, though inaudible to Anya, were visible in their wide gestures and illuminated faces. The news spread like wildfire. Cabin doors opened and villagers, wrapped in furs, emerged into the blizzard. Their eyes, previously filled with despair and worry, now shone with a mixture of disbelief and joy. Anya stopped the sled in the central square, exhausted, but with her head held high. Her eyes swept over the faces of the village, feeling the wave of emotion that emanated from them. She opened the fur blanket, revealing the 3 Siberian tiger cubs. A murmur of awe and reverence rippled through the crowd. Children approached, their eyes wide with wonder, touching the small animals with their fingertips, as if touching fortune itself. The elder smiled, a tired smile, yet one that radiated deep peace. She didn't need words to understand the gratitude in their eyes, the admiration in their gestures. The village was saved, the promise of good fortune restored. Her deafness, which separated her from the world of sounds, had become the strongest link between her people and the earth. In that silence, Anya felt the purest human connection, the warmth of community, the validation of her life. She was the guardian of silence, the heroine who, against all odds, had brought hope back home. The cubs, small and vulnerable, were now the living symbol of Anya's resilience and her people's unwavering faith in the face of nature's most brutal aspects. Joy flooded the square, a warmth that seemed to defy the 70-degree cold. The cubs were taken to the warmest hut, Anya's, where soft furs and a crackling fire awaited them. Anya's grandchildren, especially little Lena, 7 years old, with her curious eyes and dark hair, watched the tiger cubs with silent reverence. Anya, sitting by the fire, felt deep exhaustion, but also a satisfaction that warmed her soul. The villagers brought warm milk and small pieces of meat for the cubs, hoping to feed them. But as the hours passed, a shadow began to hang over the celebration. The smallest cub, the one Anya had rescued first, seemed unresponsive. Its small eyes remained half open, its body trembled uncontrollably, and it refused any food. The vibration of its body, which Anya felt when touching it, was weak and irregular, an almost imperceptible heartbeat. The other two cubs, though exhausted, seemed stronger, accepting a little milk. But the smallest one, Lena, who was kneeling beside the cub, turned to her grandmother with tear-filled eyes. Her lips moved, and Anya, reading the worry on her face, knew the girl was asking about the small tiger. Anya touched the cub's forehead, feeling the abnormal cold of its skin. Panic began to spread silently among the adults. The cubs were the village's fortune, but what would happen if one of them didn't survive? The newfound hope threatened to slip through their fingers. The elder closed her eyes for an instant, seeking the ancestral wisdom that had always guided her. Her mission hadn't ended in the cave. The true challenge, that of nurturing and protecting the fragile life she had rescued, was just beginning. She needed to find a way to reverse the course of nature, to bring warmth and strength to that small heart. The village, which had just celebrated, now faced a new and unexpected obstacle, one that would require not only strength, but a deep connection to life and hope. Anya felt the weight of that new challenge in every fiber of her being. The small cub, wrapped in furs, trembled weakly, and the vibration in its body was an almost broken thread. Lena, with her wide eyes full of unshed tears, approached her grandmother, her small hand extended towards the tiger. Anya, with a gentle gesture, pulled her granddaughter close, embracing her with one arm, while her other hand rested delicately on the cub's chest. The sensation of its heart beating so faintly was a painful reminder of life's fragility. The other villagers who had previously celebrated now watched in silence, their faces marked by worry. Hope, which had blossomed with Anya's arrival and the cubs, seemed to wither in the face of imminent loss. The elder could feel the sadness and fear emanating from the community, a silent echo of her own anguish. She closed her eyes again, not to rest, but to deepen her perception, to seek the wisdom that resided not in books or words, but in the earth itself and the teachings of generations. She remembered her grandmother, who in times of great cold and scarcity used heated stones and special herbs to revive weakened animals. It wasn't just physical warmth, but a transfer of energy, a silent prayer from life to life. Anya opened her eyes, a new determination shining in them. She gestured for them to bring the smoothest river stones, those that retained heat the longest, and a handful of dried herbs that grew in rock crevices, known for their healing properties. As the young ones hurried to fulfill her request, Anya began to gently massage the cub's body. Her fingers, calloused by time and labor, moved with surprising delicacy, stimulating circulation, trying to ignite the small flame of life that still persisted. She felt every tiny muscle, every fragile bone, and above all, the irregular vibration of its heart. Lena, sitting beside her grandmother, watched every movement with solemn attention, imitating Anya's gestures with her own small hand, as if she could help transfer warmth and strength to the small tiger. The heated stones were brought, and Anya wrapped them in soft cloths, placing them carefully around the cub, creating a nest of warmth. The herbs were crushed and mixed with a little animal fat, forming a paste that she delicately applied to the cub's paws and chest, feeling the earthy, pungent aroma that spread through the air. It was an ancient ritual, a silent dance between nature and human hope. The villagers watched, their breaths held, each sending their own silent energy to the elder and the small animal. Anya remained there motionless, her hand on the cub, listening with her skin, with her soul, to the struggle of that small being. Time seemed to stop, The fire's flame in the hut crackled, casting dancing shadows on the walls. The cold outside was a constant presence, but inside Anya's hut, a silent battle for life was being waged, fueled by faith and ancestral wisdom. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, Anya felt a change. The vibration of the cub's heart, though still weak, seemed a little more regular, a little more present. Its eyes, previously half open and unfocused, blinked. A small, muscular contraction ran through its body. Anya pressed her lips into an almost imperceptible smile. Life, stubborn and resilient, was responding. Hope, which seemed to have faded, began to reappear, a faint but real thread in the vast tapestry of existence. The village, with its apprehensive hearts, still waited, but Anya knew that the silence of that moment was the promise of a new dawn. The small flicker of life Anya felt in the cub's chest was like the first star appearing after a long polar night. She kept her hand there, feeling each faint beat, each tiny tremor that indicated life's struggle to reassert itself. Lena, with her eyes fixed on her grandmother and the small tiger, seemed to understand the gravity of the moment. Her own fingers, small and pink, rested delicately on the fur blanket, as if wanting to lend her own vitality to the cub. Anya, with an almost imperceptible nod, indicated that the girl should keep warm, but allowed her to stay close, feeling the importance of her granddaughter's silent presence. Hours stretched on, marked by the subtle change in the fire and the occasional movement of villagers who took turns observing. Anya did not move. Her concentration was total, a deep meditation on life. She continued to massage the cub with rhythmic movements, applying more of the herbal paste and checking the temperature of the heated stones. With each touch, she tried to infuse warmth, a vital energy that seemed to flow from her hands into the small body. Slowly, the cub's response became more evident. The trembling subsided, replaced by more regular, though shallow, breathing. Its eyes opened for an instant, revealing bright pupils, before closing again in a deeper, more peaceful sleep. The vibration in its chest, previously a faint thread, was now a firmer pulse, a rhythm Anya recognized as that of life clinging on with tenacity. A collective sigh of relief swept through the hut, inaudible to Anya, but clearly felt in the change of atmosphere, in the relaxed shoulders and illuminated faces of the villagers. Lena, unable to contain her joy, looked up at her grandmother, a radiant smile blossoming on her lips. Anya returned the smile, a gesture of victory and gratitude. She took some warm milk and, with her fingertip, moistened the cub's lips. The small tiger reacted, licking instinctively. It was a tiny sign, but for Anya and for the village, it was proof that life was winning. News of the cub's improvement spread quickly, dispelling the shadow that hung over the village. The celebration resumed, not with the initial euphoria, but with a deeper, more restrained joy, reverence for life's fragility and for hope. The villagers brought more food and furs, caring for the cubs with renewed affection. Anya finally allowed herself to rest. Her body was exhausted, but her spirit was at peace. She watched Lena, sitting beside the cub, singing a soft song that Anya couldn't hear, but whose rhythmic vibrations she felt on the hut's floor. The girl, with her innocence and faith, had become an essential part of that miracle. The elder knew that the path to full recovery would still be long and require vigilance, but the hardest part was over. The small tiger, a symbol of luck and resilience, had been pulled back from the brink. The village had witnessed Anya's bravery in the blizzard, her wisdom and compassion in the battle for life, the connection with the earth, with the animals, with the community, all intertwined in the figure of the deaf elder, who with her hands and her heart had ensured that hope continued to shine, even in Yakutia's harshest winter. The promise of a new dawn was no longer just a hope, it was a palpable reality, warming the hearts of the village against the relentless cold. The promise of a new dawn was no longer just a hope, but a palpable reality, warming the hearts of the village against the relentless cold. The days that followed the small cub's recovery were marked by a routine of care and vigilance, as demanding as the rescue journey. Anya, though she felt the weariness in her bones, found strength in the growing vitality of the tiger cubs. The weakest cub, renamed Star by Lena, in honor of the first light Anya felt, was the focus of her attention. It drank the warm milk with more eagerness, and its vibrations, previously an inaudible whisper, became a constant and strong rhythm, a pulse the elder felt with every touch. Lena spent hours in her grandmother's hut, observing and learning with dedication. Her dark eyes followed every movement of Anya's calloused hands as she prepared soft furs or mixed animal fat with special herbs. The girl, with seriousness, imitated her grandmother's gestures, touching Star with a delicacy that Anya felt was a reflection of her own affection and the deep connection forming. The other two cubs, more robust and curious, already explored the corners of the hut, their steps light and agile, a reminder of the wildlife that pulsed within them. The entire village mobilized to support Anya and the cubs. Hunters brought the best cuts of fresh meat. Women prepared nutritious broths, and the younger ones took turns on guard. It was not just restored luck, but deep gratitude and a renewed sense of community. Anya had risked everything, and the village responded with the same dedication, understanding that the cub's survival was, in a way, everyone's survival. However, the presence of tigers, even cubs, brought its own challenges. They were wild animals, and Yakutia, with its relentless vastness and temperatures of 70 degrees, was no place for weakness. The elders gathered, their voices grave and worried, reflecting wisdom and uncertainties. "They will grow," one of them said, "and with them the need to hunt, to be free, to find their own way in the taiga." Anya felt the tension in the air, the vibrations of uncertainty that permeated the conversations, the collective concern for the future. She knew the cubs could not remain in the village forever. Her mission was to prepare them for their return to nature, where their true fortune and purpose lay. But how to teach a tiger to be wild, to hunt, to survive when it had been saved and raised by human hands? How to prepare them for the brutality of winter, for solitary survival, without taking away the essence of the fortune they represented? It was a dilemma that weighed on her heart, a rope stretched between love and responsibility. The connection with Star was deep and almost mystical. Saying goodbye would be like tearing a part of herself away. One afternoon, under the pale sun, Anya took Star outside the hut. Lena followed her. The icy air stung the skin, but the cub, stronger now, seemed to feel the vastness of its ancestral home. It sniffed the air, its small paws restless, and a low meow escaped, a vibration Anya felt clearly. She understood that the call of nature echoed in Star's small heart. The elder knew she would need to find a delicate balance between protection and freedom, between love and the wisdom of letting go. Winter was still long, and the challenges, though different, were as profound as the snow that covered Yakutia. The village, united by hope and unwavering faith in Anya, was ready to face whatever came, led by her, the guardian of silence and life. The village, united by hope and unwavering faith in Anya, was ready to face whatever came, led by her, the guardian of silence and life. But for Anya, what came was a challenge nestled not in the icy landscape, but deep within her own heart. The cubs, especially Star, grew visibly. Their bodies, once fragile, now displayed surprising strength. Their small meows transformed into soft growls when they played, and their claws, still small, already showed the wild nature pulsing in their veins. Anya watched, feeling the vibrations of their agile movements, the restless energy that propelled them. Lena, always by her grandmother's side, tried to keep up with the tiger cubs, laughing with a joy that Anya felt resonate in her chest, an echo of youth and hope. The elder knew that time was a fast-flowing river, and each day spent in the safety of the hut was one less day to prepare them for the unforgiving world outside. The village elders, with thoughtful gestures and worried glances, began to discuss the tiger's future. Anya felt the gravity of their concerns, the vibration of their low voices, even without hearing the words. They trusted her, but the nature of tigers was clear. They were spirits of the tiger and could not be domesticated forever. Their fortune was intrinsically linked to their freedom and their return to the wild vastness. Anya began to take them outside the village, on small exploratory excursions. They weren't hunts, but silent lessons about the world around them. She guided them to feel the scent of fresh snow, the texture of ice-covered trees, the subtle vibration of a rabbit hidden beneath the thick snow. With her calloused hands, she showed them how to sniff out a trail, how to move without leaving deep tracks, how to use the wind to their advantage to camouflage their presence. Star, always the most attached, followed Anya's every movement, its almond-shaped eyes fixed on the elder, as if she were the very embodiment of forest wisdom. The connection between them was so deep that Anya felt every change in the cub's mood, every hesitation, every flicker of curiosity that propelled it. Lena accompanied the excursions, wrapped in warm furs, observing her grandmother and the tigers with solemn attention. The girl, with her childlike sensitivity, seemed to understand the complexity of Anya's mission. She didn't speak much, but her eyes, sometimes filled with admiration, sometimes with veiled sadness, revealed her understanding of what was to come. Once, Star, sniffing a hare's trail, moved a little further away than usual, following the scent with a growing instinct. Anya felt an icy shiver run down her spine. Star's vibration became more distant, fainter, almost lost in the white immensity. For an instant, panic threatened to seize her, tightening her chest. But then she felt the unmistakable vibration of a return, the cub's small body rushing back to her, nestling against her legs, seeking familiar comfort. Anya smiled, a relieved smile, stroking its soft fur. It was a small step, a reminder that the wild instinct was there, dormant, but present and pulsating. However, with each day the cubs spent under her care, the bond uniting them grew stronger. Anya felt the weight of responsibility, the imminent pain of the approaching farewell. How could she, who had saved and loved them with such dedication, hand them back to the solitude and inherent brutality of the wild? But she knew she had no choice. The village's fortune depended on the tigers' freedom, on their ability to thrive in their own environment as wild and majestic beings. It was an act of greater love, a silent sacrifice that only she, the guardian of life, could make. One night, as the wind howled outside, sweeping snow against the hut's walls, Anya sat by the fire, with Star nestled in her lap, its faint warmth an anchor amidst the cold. She felt the rhythmic pulsations of its small heart, its soft and steady breathing. Her fingers traced the contours of its dark stripes, memorizing every detail, every curve of the body she had helped bring back to life. The village slept a deep sleep, but Anya was awake, fighting her most intimate and silent battle. She knew she would need to be stronger than ever, not to face hungry bears or treacherous ice, but to face herself, to let go of the life she loved so much. Winter was still long, but spring, with its promise of renewal and inevitable goodbyes, approached on the icy horizon. The guardian of silence needed to find the strength to let go of the life she had saved, so that fortune could truly flourish in Yakutia in all its wild fullness. The guardian of silence needed to find the strength to let go of the life she had saved, so that fortune could flourish in Yakutia. Winter yielded, and spring emerged. The ice on less thick surfaces emitted vibrations, a softening that Anya felt. The cubs, robust and full of energy, barely fit in the hut. Their movements were swift, growls distinct, and their eyes shone with independence. Star had transformed. Its curiosity led it to explore the forest on daily excursions. The elder felt the vibration of Star's restlessness and its wild impulse. It was a silent pain, a knot tightening in her chest. Lena, at 7 years old, perceived the change. Her dark eyes, once joyful, now carried sadness. She nestled close to Anya, her hand seeking her grandmother's, wanting to share the farewell. Anya hugged her tightly, feeling the fragility and strength of the love that united them. The village elders, in silent meetings, watched Anya with respect. They knew the decision was hers, but time was running out. The village's fortune was linked to the tiger's freedom. Anya, in connection with the earth, knew. She spent hours by the fire, with Star in her lap, feeling the cub's pulsating life. Her fingers traced the stripes, engraving the memory of that touch. One morning, Yakutia's pale sun cast a different glow upon the snow. Anya felt a distinct vibration in the air. A call. It was the call of the tiger, stronger and clearer. Star, playing with its siblings, suddenly stopped. Its ears twitched, its eyes fixed on the hut's door. It let out a low meow, full of urgency, and began to scratch at the door, wanting to go out. Anya closed her eyes, a silent tear tracing her face. It was the climax of her journey, the inevitable moment. She stood, each step an act of courage and sacrifice. Lena, sensing the change, ran to her grandmother, clinging to her leg. Anya knelt, hugging her granddaughter tightly, conveying her love and the difficult truth. She gestured to Lena, explaining with her hands that the tigers needed to return to the great forest to be free. With a nod to the villagers, Anya opened the hut's door. The icy air rushed in, but Star and its siblings did not hesitate. They ran outside, sniffing the air, feeling the promise of freedom. Anya followed them, leading Lena by the hand to the edge of the village. She knelt in the snow, extending her hands to the cubs, who approached one last time, rubbing their bodies against her legs, a silent and grateful farewell. Anya felt the vibration of their small hearts one last time. It was sadness and deep peace. She knew she was doing the right thing. With one last caress to Star, she urged them forward. The cubs hesitated, looking back at the elder. But then, wild instinct prevailed. They turned and disappeared into the white immensity of Yakutia, their tracks covered by the snow. Anya remained there, motionless, feeling the emptiness in her lap, but also the vibration of a new hope spreading through the village. Fortune now was truly free. Anya remained there, motionless, feeling the emptiness in her lap, but also the vibration of a new hope spreading through the village. Fortune now was truly free. The icy wind whipped her face, but Anya felt no cold, only the reverberation of farewell in every cell of her body. Lena, still clinging to her leg, sobbed softly. Anya knelt again, pulling her granddaughter into a tight embrace, feeling the small vibrations of the girl's crying in her chest. She stroked Lena's dark hair, conveying a silent calm, an acceptance that the girl, little by little, began to feel. The villagers, who had witnessed the farewell scene, approached in respectful silence. There were no words, only glances that expressed gratitude and a deep understanding of the pain and necessity of that sacrifice. Anya felt the vibrations of their presences, the human warmth that enveloped her. She raised her eyes to them, a faint and tired yet serene smile blossoming on her lips. The village had passed through the ordeal, and faith in fortune now was stronger than ever. Back in the hut, the silence was different. It was not the heavy silence of apprehension or loneliness, but a silence filled with memory, with the peace of a mission accomplished. The spaces where the cubs played were now empty, But Anya felt the energy they had left behind, a promise of life and renewal. Lena, sitting by the fire, no longer cried. Her eyes, though still a little red, watched her grandmother with a new depth. She picked up a small, smooth stone, which had once been warmed for the cubs, and held it tight, as if keeping a part of that experience there. In the days that followed, the village flourished in a renewed quietude. The blizzard had ceased, and the pale spring sun began to melt the surface layers of snow, revealing the earth that promised life. Hunts became more abundant, herds healthier. It was not just luck, but a change in the very soul of the community, a sense of unity and purpose that Anya had rekindled. The elder spent her mornings at the hut's entrance, feeling the pulse of the earth. She felt the ice detaching from the branches, the water running under the snow, nature's subtle awakening. Her deafness, which could once be seen as a limitation, was now the key to an even deeper connection with the world, allowing her to hear Yakutia's silent symphony. Lena, always by her side, tried to feel the same, closing her eyes and placing her hands on the ground, imitating her grandmother, learning to read the world through vibrations. One afternoon, as Anya and Lena watched the horizon, a group of hunters returned to the village, their faces illuminated. They gestured enthusiastically, describing a sighting. 3 young Siberian tigers, strong and majestic, had been seen hunting together deep in the taiga. They seemed prosperous, free. Anya didn't hear the words, but felt the joy and relief that emanated from the men, the vibration of their voices and gestures. She knew it was Star and its siblings. A wide, genuine smile spread across Anya's face, her eyes shining with a light that reflected not only happiness, but the confirmation that her mission had been accomplished. The village's fortune was not trapped in a hut, but free in the wild vastness, protecting its people from afar. Lena, feeling her grandmother's emotion, hugged her tightly, her own eyes welling up with joy. Anya had saved the cubs not for herself, but for the earth, for the village, for life itself. She had proven that true strength lies in connection, in ancestral wisdom, and in the courage to do what is right, even if it means letting go of what one loves most. Yakutia, with its relentless beauty and eternal cold, had witnessed the heroism of a deaf elder who, with her heart and hands, ensured that hope and fortune continued to flourish. A silent testament to human resilience. Yakutia, with its relentless beauty and eternal cold, had witnessed the heroism of a deaf elder who, with her heart and hands, ensured that hope and fortune continued to flourish. A silent testament to human resilience. For Anya, the days that followed the tiger's departure were filled with a different quietude. No longer the tension of imminent responsibility, but the serenity of a deep peace. She felt the emptiness in her lap, yes, but it was an emptiness that resonated with the fullness of a mission accomplished. Her fingers, once busy stroking the cub's soft fur, now dedicated themselves to weaving wicker baskets, her calloused hands moving with the same wisdom and precision. Lena, at 7 years old, continued to be her grandmother's shadow, but with a new maturity in her eyes. She no longer cried for the tiger's absence, but watched Anya with silent reverence, absorbing every gesture, every expression. The girl spent hours beside the elder, placing her hands on the icy ground, trying to hear the earth's vibrations as Anya did. Gradually, Lena began to distinguish the subtle rhythms, the distant tremor of a reindeer herd, the murmur of water under the ice, the whisper of the wind carrying news from afar. Anya, with a gentle smile, saw in her granddaughter the continuation of her own connection with Yakutia, the seed of a new guardian of silence. The village in turn had transformed. The prosperity the tigers had promised manifested in tangible and intangible ways. Hunts were more abundant. Winters, though harsh, seemed less threatening. There was a new unity among the villagers, a shared sense of purpose rooted in Anya's courage. Stories of how the deaf elder had faced polar bears and treacherous ice to save the village's fortune were told and retold around the campfires, becoming legends that inspired new generations. The younger ones, previously skeptical, now looked at Anya with a respect that transcended age, understanding that true strength resided not only in muscles, but in the wisdom of the heart and the connection to the invisible world. Anya continued to be the pulsating heart of the village, her silent presence a beacon of resilience. She spent her mornings at the hut's entrance, feeling the pulse of the earth, the awakening of life under the snow that slowly yielded to spring. Sightings of the tigers in the taiga became more frequent, and each piece of news brought a wave of joy and confirmation. They were strong, majestic, and the fortune they represented was free, protecting the village from afar, a constant reminder of the interconnectedness of all living beings. One afternoon, as the spring sun bathed the village with a still, timid warmth, Anya sat with Lena in front of the hut. The girl, with a sparkle in her eyes, placed her hand on the ground and, after a moment of concentration, looked up at her grandmother. She gestured with her small hands, describing the vibration of a bird that had just landed on a distant branch. Anya smiled, a smile that illuminated her entire wrinkled face. The connection was there, passing from generation to generation, a legacy of love, wisdom, and resilience. The elder knew that her journey, though with new paths, was complete. She had saved the village's fortune, not with words, but with the universal language of heart and action. Yakutia, with its relentless challenges, would continue to test its children, but now the village possessed an unwavering faith forged in Anya's silence and courage. Hope, like the rivers beginning to thaw, flowed vigorously, ensuring that life, in all its wild and human fullness, would always find a way to flourish, even in the coldest of winters. Hope, like the rivers beginning to thaw, flowed vigorously, ensuring that life, in all its wild and human fullness, would always find a way to flourish, even in the coldest of winters. And so it was. Spring arrived in Yakutia with renewed strength, melting the deep layers of snow and revealing the dark, fertile earth awaiting awakening. Winter's pale colors were replaced by soft shades of green and brown, and the air, though still crisp, carried the promise of longer days and abundant life. Anya spent her mornings sitting at the hut's entrance, her eyes half closed, absorbing the vibrations of the transforming world. She felt the gurgle of water running under the broken ice, the gentle swaying of trees, freeing themselves from the snow's weight, and the distant hum of bees beginning to seek the first flowers. Her deafness was not a barrier, but a bridge to a deeper perception, a silent symphony only she could hear. Her fingers, once calloused from handling the sled and the rescue, now traced patterns in the air, as if conducting nature itself. Lena, now almost 8 years old, sat beside her grandmother, imitating her gestures. The girl had grown, not only in stature but in wisdom. Her dark eyes, once filled with a veiled sadness from the tiger's departure, now shone with a curiosity and understanding that went beyond her age. She placed her hands on the ground, closed her eyes, and tried to feel what Anya felt. And, to everyone's surprise, she succeeded. One morning, Lena raised her head and gestured to her grandmother, pointing east. Anya felt her granddaughter's vibration and, with a slight smile, nodded. A few minutes later, a small group of reindeer appeared on the horizon, grazing peacefully. The entire village witnessed the moment, and a murmur of admiration swept through the air. The seed of Anya's wisdom had blossomed in Lena. The village, in turn, experienced a period of unprecedented prosperity. Hunts were abundant, reindeer herds grew, and everyone's health seemed more robust. It was not just the tiger's fortune, but the resilience and unity that Anya had instilled in their hearts. Stories of the deaf elder, who had faced polar bears and treacherous ice to save the sacred cubs, were told and retold, becoming the foundation of the community's faith and courage. Children, playing in the remaining snow, imitated Anya, gesturing to invisible animals and listening to the ground. Sightings of the tigers in the taiga became more frequent, always described by hunters with a mix of reverence and joy. They were strong, majestic, the silent guardians of the village's fortune. Each piece of news brought warmth to Anya's heart, a confirmation that her mission had been fully accomplished. She had freed fortune, and that fortune in turn protected everyone. One afternoon, as the spring sun bathed the village with a more consistent warmth, Anya and Lena sat together, watching the river that now ran free, carrying small blocks of ice away. Lena placed her grandmother's hand on her chest and with a smile gestured, "Anya, I feel it. The earth's heart beats strong." Anya smiled, a smile that illuminated her entire wrinkled face, her eyes shining with a light of deep peace and gratitude. The connection was there, passing from generation to generation, a legacy of love, wisdom, and resilience that would flourish forever in Yakutia, a silent testament to the indomitable strength of the human spirit.